I'm on.
Alright guys, so I know I haven't been posting loads. Basically today's going to be a long run, but with a bit of a session in it, bit of a structure to that, so some 2K reps, but you're trying to keep the effort level, or for me lactate, at baseline. So I'll test baseline after a little bit of a warm-up, but I don't really stop beyond stopping for checking the lactate. It's supposed to be like a continuous effort. But basically you want to be able to gamble that if your lactate goes above baseline, or whatever metric that you're going to use, whether it's heart rate, etc., or RPE, that you would bet your race result in your next marathon that it will be at baseline. That's the challenge. So I'm having to run at a pace that I could bet the result of Berlin Marathon, i.e. if I keep the lactate at 1.2, Berlin Marathon will go really well. If it's above 1.2, let's say like 1.82, well then Berlin Marathon will not go well. So what pace would you be willing to bet and gamble the entire marathon on that one metric, that lactate? So the whole purpose of that is, not to confuse any, but it's just there's kind of paces and efforts. So let's say to keep the lactate at 1.2, I might be able to run 310 per K. I might even be able to run closer to 305 per K. But I wouldn't bet my race result on that. So the pace that I'm probably going to go for is probably going to be more like 315 per K. And that means that I still get a good effort, I still get nice benefits, but I know for sure, i.e. willing to bet that race result on keeping that lactate at 1.2 at that pace. The reason that's important is because in a week's time, I'm doing Antrim Coast half marathon, and I don't want that fatigue from today to still be in the legs by next week. It's also keeping the energy system today at the right energy system to help the marathon. Why I haven't been recording loads in Belfast is because of this. As you can see, it's just not always pleasant outside. I literally get to the track, I have all my camera stuff, I'm going to record, and then it like pisses it down with rain or wind, or yeah, it's just not made life easy. And because I'm in like the harder part of the training, it's not as like simple to like, I'll come back later and I'll record little bits, and so it's just managing the hard training, trying to recover in the afternoons, and not be running around sort of trying to sort out videos when it's not bloody raining or not really windy. But I'll try to get back into it a little bit more. But let's see how this long run goes. I'm now 8 days, 7 8 days away from Larne half marathon, and so it's Saturday. The half marathon is a week tomorrow, so that's very simple maths. It's 8 days, and so because I'm marathon training, but I want to run well at the half marathon, well then it's like, how much do you taper? Do you fully taper? Do you not? Do you prioritize the marathon? And I guess the way this training build-up has gone, and this is learning from previous marathon build-ups, in 2020, I know I go on about it, but I ran 209 for the marathon and I ran 61:08 in a half marathon in the build-up. I actually felt a lot better on the day of the half marathon than I did in the marathon. And so what I've tried to do in this build-up is prioritize the marathon and not the half marathon, which means some of the training that I've done, I'm call it lucky in a sense that there's a crossover. So sometimes I'm going to be doing training that is directly going to help Berlin Marathon, but it also might help the half marathon. Why I'm telling you that is because this is not a situation where I haven't trained for the half marathon, because like I said, some of the training kind of mixes. So if I'm doing VO2 max training that is helping top up that, I worked on this VO2 max area, I wanted to improve that 5K fitness, I ran 13:48 for the 5K, 4 or 5 weeks later, I do a session to make sure that I don't lose that really good VO2 max fitness for the marathon. Of course, that sort of VO2 type session is going to help Larne half marathon. So sometimes some of the training that you're doing is going to help other events. If I wanted to race a 10K, that VO2 session that I did, that I always would have done to help Berlin, will also help 10K, half marathon, etc. The point I'm trying to make is all of this training has been geared towards Berlin. So when it comes to tapering for the half marathon, I still want to taper. Why I want to taper is because it can help two things. It can help the body heal from all the training. It can help the body recover from, hypothetically, this maybe very high load of training. Maybe you've been training hard for 5, 6, 8 weeks, 10 weeks for this marathon. Sometimes having an easier week in the middle of a block or towards the end of a block can help you recover and get ready for the marathon, okay? Some people are reluctant to take an easy week unless they have a reason to take it. That's where the half marathon comes in. So not only will it show me where my fitness is at, and I feel like it's only going to show me where my fitness is at if I taper. But it still meant today I could do some kind of a long run, but it needed to be controlled. So that keeps the effort honest. And so most people, when you're training, take a bit of advice from that. That's kind of like, you're going to go train, you're going to do your long run, you're going to do the session, you're going to call it threshold, maybe you're going to call it tempo, maybe you're going to call it 10K effort. But would you be willing to bet the race result that at the very end of the session, after the final rep, somebody was going to take your blood lactate, that you cannot lie, it's a fact. They're going to take that number, and if that number is higher than the agreed intensity for that day, well, you've fucked up your entire race result. How honest do you then have to be with your effort level? You should treat every session like that. Intensity control can make or break races. Sometimes what happens is, not only is intensity control really, really important because then you get the right benefit from the session, you also recover at the right rate that you should from a session like that. But I also just feel like it sets the tone for what you're going to achieve in the race. So not only will you get the intensity of the session right, which is important, and it's good to teach yourself how to do that, but it's kind of like if you've constantly overdid it a little bit, or in the build-up you've constantly been just a little bit greedy. Maybe it's windy, it was bloody windy today, but maybe it's windy, maybe it's warm, and you just press and you push, and you know you shouldn't, but you keep doing it, and you do it, and you do it, and you get to the end of that session, and you think to yourself, I maybe overworked a little bit today because I got a little bit obsessed by speed, I got a little bit obsessed by race pace, etc., etc. It's understandable, we're passionate, we want to be better, it makes sense, I get it. The problem is, then on race day, sometimes you're less willing to make the disciplined moves in a race and choices in the race to get you that big race result. So this whole build-up, I've been talking about the Olympics, I've been talking about good results in half marathons, 62 minutes, maybe like, sub 2:10 again for the marathon. But this whole build-up has been about being more disciplined and just reacting as things move. So when I get to Berlin, I can't just decide that I'm going to go run 2:07. It doesn't work like that. The fitness will be in a certain place, and that's the race result you must accept. And you just go do it. But it's all about ticking boxes that I wanted to get my running career back in a good direction. My PB was 2 years ago. I haven't really ran a good marathon for 2 years. And it's all in the psychology. Because I was doing everything too hard. Everything was too hard. I was trying to do reps too hard. I was trying to do reps 4 or 5 days a week. I was trying to do double sessions. I was trying to run really quick on my easy days every day. So why it's so important to set that tone in your sessions is because if you've held back in your sessions because you had to that day, on race day, you'll have no problem holding back. But if you've taught yourself this bad psychology of constantly pushing to hit these desired paces that you've literally made up in your head or because somebody else runs a certain pace, well, that's kind of bullshit. And then on race day, you'll race with likely this bullshit psychology that's like, you need to go for it. Go hard or go home. And then literally when it gets to the last 10K, instead of finishing quickly to get home, you're going to be finishing slowly because you likely fucked it up. I've done that so many times. Today's long run was really good. Apologies for the big spiel, but today's long run was really good. You know, that's 2K reps, 6 times 2K, keeping that lactate. It was 1.2 after the sixth one. The sixth one was actually 1.6 mile or something like that because I had to run far enough to get back to the lactate reader, and I couldn't jog it into the lactate reader or it's not very relevant. So really happy with that. But it's no surprise because I've been super disciplined with training. When you do training right, when you run at the right intensity, when you take care of your recovery, when you do all the small things, when you eat well, when you rest well, you do your recovery, it's not a surprise when things start to go really good. I'm not going to handicap myself for this half marathon or Berlin. If my body's capable of running 208, I'll run 208. But it's all about making good decisions in training and on race day. Running at the intensities that you know you're ready to run at, not the intensities that you want to run at. But achieve these little goals along the way in training, and then on race day it makes it a lot easier to stick to a really good race plan. So today was super good. You know, 5K is the warm up, 6 times 2K, 5K roughly warmed down, all kind of as continuous as I possibly could. I did stop to take the lactate after the warm up, 1.4, and then I got working into those 2Ks. I did stop to check the lactate after the final, 2K, 1.6 mile. I think it was 8 minutes something, thereabouts. So sometimes you have to stop little bits to check little metrics, but I don't think it disrupts the rhythm. There is days that I don't worry about lactate and I have help on the bike for fueling and I don't stop at all. All this good training has come from really good decisions outside of training and really good decisions inside training. So if you're running at the right intensities and you're taking care of your recovery and your nutrition, you're sleeping well, it just builds this really nice rhythm. And I've got into this really good rhythm, and that's what's going to lead to a good marathon. Because as the fitness grows, the psychology is growing with it, the confidence is growing with it. If you want to learn more about all those good things like recovery, strength, nutrition, go to joggingroom.com. There's a marathon plan on there, half marathon plan, run a masterclass, check all that out. Apologies for lack of updates. There will be more as I build towards Berlin and trying to qualify for that Olympics. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Like, subscribe, do all those lovely things. Enjoy your running. Don't be so hard on yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Slow things down if you have to. Make good choices and take care.